This episode is about thinking outside of the box, remaining open to learning, and honestly, just another excuse to talk about Halloween, this time specifically pumpkins. Hello! Welcome to Earth Care Mini. I'm your host, Sarah Christie, and I'm on a mission to make climate change an approachable and not so overwhelming conversation for everyone. Now, normally, this is the podcast where we meet climate heroes, activists, experts, entrepreneurs, and get their take on how we can help save the planet. And that's still the case, but since we all need to be involved with climate action and the climate crisis is happening as we speak, I wanted to share some of the lessons that I've learned. I am unlearning, and I'm still learning with respect to this planet and the people on it. The lessons are big, but the episodes are mini. Consider them 2-bite brownie-sized episodes for the planet. Did you get your pumpkins yet? Carving pumpkins is a Halloween staple, right? In fact, according to an article shared by the Earth Day organization, Canadians buy over 10 million pumpkins every single year. 10 million pumpkins. We're so obsessed that pumpkin spice has now become a billion-dollar industry. Farms around Canada open their doors to let in tourists to take pictures with pumpkins while drinking pumpkin-flavored drinks. And then we leave with a car full of jack-o'-lanterns to be, right? Does that sound familiar to you? What do you do with your pumpkins after Halloween, though? If you're going, I haven't thought about that before. Until a few years ago, I was in that same boat. I hadn't thought twice about it. That same article by the Earth Day organization, though, also mentioned that the majority of the pumpkins that we're out purchasing in bulk then go to waste. Did you know you can eat the entire pumpkin? Until recently, again, I had no idea. But after learning that, wow, that is so much food going to waste. And we know that food waste is a major contributor to global warming because of the resources that go into farming. That's them wasted resources. But also, if the pumpkin ends up in a landfill, it produces methane because it doesn't have room to air or properly decompose, and methane is a more powerful greenhouse gas emission than CO2. I've said it before during an Earth Care Mini, and I'll say it again. During this time of inflation, if there's an opportunity to save money, we should seize it. So if we're buying the pumpkins to decorate with anyway, why not sign it up for double duty and eat it as well? Save some money on groceries. Good news is there are a bunch of ways to still get festive, still celebrate your Halloween traditions, but just go about it in a more eco-friendly way. Now, I've done a lot of research for this one because Halloween is my favorite time of year. So if there's a way that we can still get spooky and decorate and we can still stick our hands into pumpkin guts while keeping the environment in mind, I'm going to find it. If you haven't bought your pumpkin yet, consider buying local. Check out if there are farms near you or a local produce market that would be sourcing their products from nearby. Touched on this earlier, but pumpkin farms have gone all out for us, right? They saw how much we crave putting on a cute fall hat and an oversized flannel and racing to a pumpkin patch and are now profiting from it. And that is A-okay. Without farmers, we don't eat. So what a fun way to support them and say, hey, thank you for growing the food that we need to survive while also checking off that fall bingo card. Is the word pumpkin starting to sound weird yet? Okay, once it's home, try carving it on Halloween or as close to Halloween as you can. The longer it sits there all gutted and chopped up, the more likely it is to rot. And you've seen a rotting pumpkin before, right? No one wants to go near that. That is likely getting tossed in the trash, but that's what we're trying to avoid entirely here. The guts. Even just saying that, can you feel that gooey, incredible mess? It's such a fall signature moment. And can be entirely used. You can eat the seeds or you can use them to plant your own pumpkins. Side story, last year I smashed my mini little baby pumpkins in the backyard for the critters to eat, specifically squirrels. They either buried some of the seeds or they were blown around in the wind, but this year I had 2 different random pumpkins growing out back. One in the garden and then one growing out of the side of my house. You know that crease in between the home and the cement around it? It's probably filled with rock chips and dirt and lots of bugs. Well, somehow a pumpkin seed did its little germination thing. It survived and grew 2 pumpkins, which eventually the squirrels ate, full circle. But that was completely accidental. So if you have the space and time to put a little TLC into it, hey, you might actually be able to grow your own pumpkin patch. Back to the guts. Those can be used too. You can puree them for all your pumpkin spice lattes, bake them into your pumpkin desserts. There are also, this is really fun, a ton of natural beauty recipes online that you can check out. Hair masks, exfoliants. Last year, I actually used the pumpkin guts for a DIY face mask. You can just pamper yourself, Sanderson sister style. The actual shell of the pumpkin, that can be used as well. You can bake the entire thing like you would a squash, add it to recipes, or save it and make your own pumpkin puree. Zero Waste Chef has shared a wealth of ideas for how to cook your pumpkin and not let it go to waste. You can check her out on social media or her website, Zero Waste Chef, again, if you missed it. But I borrowed this idea from her last year. So after baking the pumpkin, I just blended it into a puree, basically just blended it until it was nice and smooth, and then froze it in little ice cube trays so I could pop out however much I needed while I was cooking. So basically, while you're carving your pumpkin this year, hang on to those loose pieces that you cut out because one day, those could be a great meal. Pumpkin also makes for great dog treats, so even if this isn't a you thing, there's an abundance of recipes online for various treats for your four-legged pal. Now, this is a new one that I just learned. You can eat the peel. In the past, I was scooping out the flesh, composting the peel. Don't I look silly because those were potential chips, smoothie ingredients, wedges. Going to be very hungry after talking about all this food. If you're not big on cooking, do a quick Google search and see if any animal sanctuaries are accepting pumpkin donations after Halloween. Make a fun road trip out of it. See if your neighbors, friends, family are willing to donate their pumpkins as well. Load up the car and go visit some cute animals. Now I saved the most obvious one for last. Compost, compost, compost. Every bit of the pumpkin can go into the compost. I once lived in an apartment in Kitchener that didn't have compost in the building. So I used to keep a bag in the freezer, and a friend of mine who lived nearby would let me drop it off at her house before garbage night. So if you don't have compost, save it and drop it off at your equivalent to my friend Steph. This week's Earth Care Mini is really about seizing what we have and remembering that we share this earth with all beings. So as humans, our systemic sense of superiority is we're done with this, get rid of it, and that's that. But the fun and exciting part about keeping your mind open to learning and growing is, hey, now I know how wildly versatile the almighty pumpkin is, so I can still go all out at Halloween with all the festive traditions and try and carve a Frankenstein face that never looks quite right, but with a more eco-friendly approach. Just because Halloween is over and you're done with the decoration doesn't mean that a sanctuary wouldn't love to accept that free food, or that your neighbor wouldn't love some free seeds to try and grow their own pumpkins, or that there's not a variety of recipes that you haven't tried yet and would actually love and can use that pumpkin for, and then, hey, next week, save money on your grocery bill. Last week, I had leftover pumpkin puree from Thanksgiving, so basically every meal consisted of what was left. I scooped a bit into my oatmeal in the morning, then I baked the rest into zucchini waffles with rosemary, which surprisingly turned out really well. One of the biggest takeaways, though, that I've experienced personally while learning this and correcting my just get rid of it mindset is the respect and gratitude I have for each meal. You know, I'm connected to food in a way that I wasn't before, and I'm making recipes that I would have otherwise never come across. So sure, this episode is largely about pumpkins, but it can be applied to all of our food. Did you know that you can eat the entire broccoli? The entire cauliflower too? And it's delicious. We just have to take a step back and learn and appreciate what we truly have in front of us. So this Halloween, I challenge you to get creative with whatever you carve, and then with what you do afterwards. It's fun to be spooked on Halloween, but food waste is actually scary. And the good news is that we can each do our part to try and prevent it at a household level. Thank you so much for checking out Earth Care and letting this podcast be a part of your day. Don't forget to hit follow or subscribe, whatever that button is on the device that you're listening to this episode on, and then you'll know when new episodes are out. And if you have time, hey, leave a review. I would love to know what's on your mind, what's been clicking with you, what topics we should cover next. And as I'm behind the scenes gathering the next round of interviews, those reviews are a big help with that. So I really do appreciate that. We can also connect online at Earth Care Show on Instagram and TikTok, and earthcareshow.com for more information. I'll talk to you later.